Hey guys, it's Porter, Matt Porter. Just actually in the Mustang right now, taking a look at the problem that I had mentioned in my last video regarding the radio. So what happens is the backlight for the clock and like tuner, so the numbers and everything, the LCD, doesn't light up. Everything else on it lights up just fine except for that little section, and I'm taking a look at it, and I think I figured out what the problem is. I'm going to just kind of walk through the process of what I did to actually identify what the problem is, and hopefully this helps some guys, along the way that might be trying to maintain the factory head unit, because it's nostalgia, retro type stuff, which is kind of what I'm enjoying. I love this car and everything that it was back in the day. So here in a second, I'm going to show you what we got. Alright guys, so here we are in the car. I've kind of got the head unit out a little bit, but I put it back in just so I can kind of demonstrate what I'm looking at. Hopefully you guys can see that. So what I've got is I can actually actually you can see right there. So you can see the numbers. The LCD is actually working. That's supposed to show the time. The key is off right now. But here, let me turn on the lights. Okay, you can kind of see the lights kick on. Everything lights up pretty good. Sorry if it's a little bit bright and stuff like that, but everything kind of functions, but the LCD is not working. Right now it's turned off. Let's turn it on. See, we still see nothing behind the LCD. So I'm gonna pull this thing out, and we're gonna take a look at the insides and just kind of see. Initially, the initial thought is it's probably a light bulb. So let's take a look and see what we've got there too. Alright, so I've got it kind of pulled out. I still have the harness connected, okay, and everything. And the tool of choice that I'm using here is a power probe. And what's cool about this thing is it connects to your battery, and what you can do with it is when you're testing circuits and stuff, you can actually provide both power and ground for testing. So you can actually, test circuits, and if you're having problems, you want to try and supply power to it, you can. I know there is an amperage limit, so some things will actually kind of trip the actual power probe. It's got like its own little built-in fuse to protect it, actually right here on the side. That'll pop out if if you try and make it do something that it just doesn't have the capability for. But for the most part, this thing is extremely helpful with testing electrical circuits and things along those lines. So the first thing I actually noticed was, I hope you guys can see that all right. Here, we'll do this. Here's the light socket right here. And I guess maybe in years past, either me or my dad actually tried looking at it, and the bulb's missing, obviously. So what I'm actually going to do is I've got a spare LED that I'm going to put into this to do a little bit more testing. Okay, so I've got just a little 5mm LED put in here. Earlier I had marked what the ground is, and of course we all know diodes only operate in one direction electrically. So let me just show you what we can do here. Hopefully this shows up right. You see the light kind of kick on when I give it power. So let's plug this in, again, just kind of temporarily, and see if that works. And what we should find is, yeah, the lights still do not work. So what I ended up doing is inside here there's actually some wiring. Let me see if I can get a better angle on this for you guys. Okay, so you can kind of see there's some wiring, and if we look in there, this is the lead for the bulb itself, and there's two spots where it connects into the board. One of them is labeled as LCD, and I think the other one is actually labeled as ground. It's kind of tough to see. Yeah, it's kind of tough to see in here, but what I'm going to try and do is get a picture with some flash and try and overlay it here in a second, just to kind of show you what I'm looking at. Okay, so kind of got this in a little bit better position, and what's nice is this thing's kind of got some LEDs that I can use. And let's just kind of get in here. That's what I'm looking for. There's one right in there that is labeled for LCD, and when I give it power, we see the bulb lights up. So that tells me that this little harness right here is actually working fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. So that tells me it's something between, well, it could be the harness itself, or it could be something between the connection and this. It leads me to believe that there's something between the connection into the back of the head unit and then here, because all the other backlighting for like the switches and the knobs and everything work just fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it over to my toolbox and do a little bit more testing and see what we've got. Okay, so I've got it on my toolbox. Forgive my toolbox, it's kind of messy. I don't know, I kind of struggle with that. But anyway, we might be able to get a little bit better view. There's that black wire right next to that capacitor is the power for that LED, okay? And then you can see that one right next to it, I think it says LCD ground. So we know power ground, obviously. So I'm going to put up just an overlay of the wiring diagram that I have from my Chilton, and I'm going to test continuity from this back plug. I need to double check which one it is. I think it's this third one, and that LCD power terminal right there. So be right back. Okay, so I checked the manual, and based on the connectors, it's an orange and black wire, I think, which is on this connector and fifth from the top, if I'm looking at the diagram right. So I've got my multimeter hooked up, and I'm just going to test that terminal right here. I can get down in there. Let's come from this angle. Okay, so I've managed to get down onto that terminal, and I see no continuity. So that tells me that it's something between this pin and that terminal inside the radio that's having a problem. So this, it looks like it has some screws in it. I'm gonna pull that apart and actually see what we might actually find with this. Okay, so I've got the screws removed, and this little plastic piece actually comes off. And from this angle, actually we'll do this. Take a look at that circuit board and see if you can identify what the problem is, and I'll give you a minute. Okay, so the problem that I found after letting you guys check, there is a trace that has failed right there. You can see it. Let me get something to point with, is right there. You can see that trace has broken. Now I've already looked at the manual. I've tested continuity between that pin and the pin inside, and they do. So on this back side of the ribbon cable, I've tested from here to the power of the LED, and there's continuity there. So this is my problem. So what I need to do, what I'm actually going to do, is run a jumper wire, since I can't repair a failed circuit board trace like that. At least I'm going to run a jumper wire from, it looks like, this terminal to that terminal right there, and see, I'm going to solder it in and see if that resolves my problem. Okay, so I've got a new connection soldered on here, a little jumper wire to bypass that break. It's not my best work. I might actually come back and clean that up here in a second. But for now, it'll work for testing. I'm going to put everything back together, put it in the car, and we're going to see what happens. Okay, so I got it back in the radio. I actually discovered that I do not have any 12 volt LEDs. All the ones that I have, I think, are basically just 5 volt. And the two that I use actually popped as soon as I turned on the lights. But it told me that the circuit repair had actually worked. So I've got, well, I'm going to sacrifice an LED for you guys just to show you that my repair worked. There's the LED, and I'm going to click on the lights. And you see it pop real quick. Like I said, that's, you know, an LED that's not rated for 12 volts. It's rated for 5, but that at least identifies that my fix worked. So that's good to know. What I need to do now is actually buy some proper LEDs. I'm probably going to do a better job on the soldering that I did on that circuit board for the jumper wire. And I'm going to figure out a way to actually probably replace this. They make, I've been looking, they make LEDs that actually kind of have their own little pigtail with the resistor wired onto it already. So I'll probably find that and get some LED cups, you know, that'll fit inside of this. If I use a 5mm LED, the cups that I think can fit in here, the outside diameter is 8mm. So I think, and that's about what the backside of this little light cup is. So I'm gonna do that, and I'll come back once I get the parts for that, and I'll show you what that looks like. Alright guys, well thanks for coming along for that quick little journey regarding the radio repair. Obviously it's not complete. I gotta buy some parts. It's 4th of July weekend, so actually, you know, I hope everybody had a good 4th of July, good, safe, fun holiday. Hope everybody stayed safe and had a good time. But yeah, I need to order a few things online. You know, like the LEDs. I need to get some of those, like I said, bulb sockets and stuff like that. But once I get all that in, I'll make another video about actually, you know, permanently repairing the LCD and getting everything back into the car. So, hope to talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.